Douglas Valley Realty Studios. And as usual, I have Frank D'Angelo with me. Frank, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Ron. We're having a lot of progress today with the real estate. Everything seems to be okay, and I haven't seen you or spoken to you for a while. It's time we get back to work.
Exactly. We've had a crazy month. February was absolutely insane. We actually got snow in this town, didn't we?
Well, guess what? I looked out the window, and I thought I was in New Jersey for a minute.
Exactly. I actually had some friends visiting from New York last week, and they had to pick the first time in 30 years plus that actually snow stuck on the ground. So they weren't really too happy about their timing, that's for sure.
Well, it's a stunner for most people, but the kids like it. I remember in 1974, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, it was six inches worth of snow, and the town was shut down for 3 days.
Unbelievable, I'll tell you. And now, just a couple of days later, it's like 75 degrees out and like golf weather. It is amazing how the weather turned here this year. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I know. I went out and checked my pool, and my chlorine already started to disappear.
No, I'm telling you, it's really people have had those kind of stories for a while now with this weather thing. But now we're heading into golf season. We're heading into sporting season, and as we talked about a while back, Vegas has really become a pro sports town basically. Because Frank, when you came here, there was basically nothing, right? I mean, they had nothing as far as sports goes.
Well, sports was blackjack and baccarat.
You could lose a lot of money in those sports. But now we have sports books. Now there's all kinds of coverage on just about every sport. And one of the greatest ones in this town, as I'm sure you guys know, is the story about the Vegas Golden Knights. They weren't even around 2 years ago, and they've just taken over the whole town.
Well, they did. Took them by storm last year. This year, they had a couple of bumps in the road, but I understand they just picked up a new player that's going to make a big difference. I have a couple hockey buddies that know it better than I do. I went to one game recently, and it ended up being I was out in the lobby when they scored 2 of the 3 goals, so I didn't really get to enjoy all of it. But it was an amazing experience. The big cyclotron, what is it?
Yeah, the scoreboard basically.
Oh wait.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Well, you know what's the there's a Tron up there. Somebody know what the Tron is?
Well, I think the key to the Vegas Golden Knights winning is maybe just keeping you in the hallway so you don't actually see the goals being scored.
Well, I'll give you an example. When I used to go to the UNLV games years ago, I went to 3 games in the beginning, and they lost all 3, so I quit going.
Well, a lot of people out there might say, well, Vegas, the Strip, it's really crowded. There's a lot of traffic. Getting to the games. How did you get to the game? Did you drive to the game or what? How did you get there to T-Mobile?
Well, I'll tell you what. They've got it figured out real well. I went up to the Red Rock Casino. They have buses running down to the stadium. Well, if you want to call it a stadium, what do they call it? The
arena.
The arena? No, they have another name for it. The
Fortress.
Down to the Fortress, and it's only a $2 bet to get down there. It's $2 one way, and then you wait at the end and $2 back. I mean, how are you going to beat it? You don't have to pay for traffic. You don't have to face traffic. You don't have to buy parking and all that. And it's hard time. We had private parking one time. It took us 25 minutes to get out of the building.
Yeah, I had the same kind of experience as far as the parking goes. I've been a fan, obviously, since last year. And up until recently, I had no idea about these shuttle buses. Apparently, it's not just Red Rock. All the stations, casinos will give you this shuttle for $2. So, like Frank said, you can't go wrong with that. The times that I've gone there, I've actually driven and parked. And what a nightmare that was, just getting there and getting back, and it was crazy. But it was worth it to see the games because it's one of the hottest tickets in town. Everybody loves going to Golden Knights games.
Well, it is. The fans are amazing. I mean, 3 years ago, nobody knew what a hockey puck was. Now they're all special forces. So it's really something how everybody's attached to it. A lot of great-looking ladies there, I'll tell you the truth. And the Jumbotron is what I was trying to think of. The Jumbotron's got some great technology going on there. It's amazing to see what's going on around the stadium. And they really focus on the kids who are really fun to watch.
And then for you people out there who don't know, we're going to get a football team soon, next year, I believe. The Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders, moving into town. And I'm sure, once we get that stadium built, we're going to probably have traffic problems as well. But I'm sure there'll be shuttle buses, you would think, right, to go to these games?
Right.
Yep.
Well, I ordered a special jacket to wear to the game, so in case anything breaks out, I don't have to worry about any physical damage of any kind.
Yeah, spoken. He knows Raider fans, I guess. If you're a Raider fan out there, I'm sorry, but we had to take that. Well, the stadium actually is being built right now on the I-15. You can see it's really amazing what the construction is. You see a stadium being built from the ground up. It's all about real estate in this town because we've been seeing a lot of that over the years. We've been seeing dirt being built up into major buildings and office buildings and high rises and stadiums and arenas. Frank, it's unbelievable the growth that's coming on in this town. We've seen it so much over the last couple of years.
Well, it's not going to stop, Ron, because I just realized that, found out this past couple of weeks that they just sold like $400 million worth of land up in Summerlin for a building. Toll Brothers are going to be building up there, and a bunch of other large builders are going to be building some pretty important properties. They're like $500,000 is like, it's like a nothing now.
Yeah, and I live close to Henderson. Basically, I'm on the borderline of Henderson and Las Vegas, and there's a lot of movement going on in Henderson as well between the Raiders complex being built there and all of the redevelopment efforts they have there. You ever go to Water Street in Henderson?
Oh yeah.
Water Street is really interesting because it's kind of like the main street in Henderson there, and it's been old town thing. And you drive down that road right now, you'll see a lot of vacancies still, but they're building it up, and they've got some really interesting companies that have moved in there. Besides a brewery, they got the Love Lady Brewing out there, which is great beer, great craft beer if you're into that.
Well, you're the craft beer specialist.
There you
You know about IPAs. I mean, I'm just kind of a sipper every now and then, so I couldn't give you the difference between a good beer and a bad beer.
And the other night we went out to, again, the brewery. We got a little hungry. We figured we'd go for some Mexican food. There's a Mexican place that opened up right next door to the brewery, and it was standing room only. We couldn't even get in. That's how good it was, basically, for a new business over there in Henderson on Water Street.
Well, I know. We just better be careful how we verbalize here.
Well, yeah, exactly. and another thing too about Water Street is I had a meeting the other day over at the Henderson Chamber of Commerce, and I got there a little early, so I figured, let me get a stop for a coffee. And I went to one of these little coffee shops that had just opened up on on Water Street as well. And you wouldn't believe how great that latte was, Frank. It's who needs Starbucks when you have these like mom and pop stores, right?
Is that a mom and pop store
yes,
up there?
It was mom and pop. I actually went in there. I had no idea what the name of the place was. I had my coffee. They had a little bar area there. I kind of, prepared for my meeting, drank a great cappuccino, a latte actually, and I walked out of there, and believe it or not, I'm not even sure of the name right now. I think it's called Public Store or Public something.
Well,
I forget.
Well, it's a good thing we weren't trying to sell them an ad.
Yeah, well, we'll get them next time. But the point is, though, there's a lot of people that are moving into Henderson. There's a lot of people who are moving into Summerlin. A lot of development going on all over the valley, on the Strip. Sports fans are loving it here. They've got their hockey. They're going to get their football. You can watch any game you want on any sports book in town. It really keeps you busy.
Well, actually, new home sales is not doing it. I mean, new home sales is doing all the business. The resale homes aren't doing as well. There are 15,000 agents in this city. They only sold 1,800 resale homes last year. Do the math. Well,
yeah, that's true. There's a lot of agents in town, but still, I guess the downside to all this, if there is a downside, is that the traffic when you drive around Vegas right now. You see a lot of construction. There's a lot of roads that are blocked off. There's a lot of orange cones, and it takes a toll out of your driving time because of the fact that there's so many new developments going up. So that's the thing about that also is that with all the traffic or the construction that's going on in town with the orange cones all around, it takes a little bit of time to drive around town that had never really happened before. So that is I guess it's growing pains. As somebody once said, it's called regression into progress, right? Who said that?
Well, speaking of growing pains, they really got to have some pain at the spaghetti bowl. These people have been in pain for 20 years down there.
Oh, absolutely. Don't drive by there around rush hour time, that's for sure. And now, too, I saw a sign the other day, just even going to the office, where there's a couple of streets that they said road construction from March till December. Can you believe that? That's crazy.
Well, that's a cone at a time.
Yeah, no, exactly. So the point of this, the takeaway is that people are moving into town. We've got, 3 million people now in this town? 3 million in the valley, right? Something like that.
It's approaching 3 million for sure.
Yeah, and these are permanent
that we know about.
Yeah, that we know about exactly. That's great. But yeah, this is a town that's still growing, and it's it's obviously a town that's never going to go away. The excitement of Vegas is always going to be there, and I still love it here. I've been here for I guess about 14, 15 years now, Frank. It's amazing. It goes real fast.
Well, that's true, because when you came to town, it was a lot less. When you came to town, there were a lot less people living here and a lot less construction. Oops, you can't do that. A lot less people living here and a lot less construction. I've been here for 50 years, so I can relate.
Yeah, and it's not just even in the residential area. There's a lot of commercial progress being done with office buildings and multifamily and warehouses, and the commercial market is very, very interesting right now.
Well, in the commercial world, the warehouse sector is like kicking butt, so to speak, because you can't find a decent warehouse for less than $1 to $1.25 a foot, unless it's like a small, an old warehouse somewhere in town. But I've been trying to find a warehouse for a guy with a dock-high door. Can't find it because his square footage isn't big enough. It really is a frustrating thing, but you keep looking. Hopefully one day it'll pop up.
Well, maybe somebody listening to this podcast actually knows of one and will contact us on our website. Or, by the way, that website is vegasrealestateshow.com. You can contact us on that or send us an email or whatever. But, before we kind of end this podcast, I do want to mention that I've been working in something called opportunity zones. Frank, do you ever hear of opportunity zones? I guess.
Well, secondhand from you, Ron, it's kind of something that we've kind of passed through before, but it seems to be a little bit more promising.
Yeah, it's kind of a new program. It's about a year old or so, but now people are really starting to take hold of it, and they're seeing the benefits of it. What it is actually is a way for people who owe capital gains taxes to the government to invest that amount into what's called opportunity zone funds. And these opportunity zones funds develop real estate, and the real estate is there to serve distressed areas in town. So we are revitalizing distressed areas through these funds. A lot of these funds are comprised of real estate developers and business leaders, et cetera, and they take money from the investors who owe capital gains taxes. So the thing about what's really interesting is that the fund invests in projects in real estate situations that are in what are called opportunity zones. There are a variety of opportunity zones in Las Vegas and in Henderson, too, for that matter.
Well, it's kind of like a tax-deferred situation, or kind of like let's say a 1031 in the tax world?
Yeah, it's a 1031 on steroids, basically, because you could defer your capital gains taxes for 7 years up till year 2026. And the longer you keep your money into one of these funds, the better your tax exposure becomes. So basically, for example, if you invest in a fund, and let's just say the fund is worth $10 when you invest into it, and 10 years later the fund is worth $30, all that gain in the fund is completely tax-free for you. So you don't have your basis at that point is 30. That's what really makes this thing a really strong program.
Well, from what I know, I think you got a jump start on this a while back, didn't you, Ron? You went to some seminars in New York. You went to some symposiums and really got some background on it. I think you might be a little bit more, you might be a little bit more articulate than some of these people that are promoting it right now.
I'll tell you, I think this is a great program, and because it's so new, there's a lot of confusion behind it. We really need a resource to provide news and events and all kinds of things like that, and that's one of the reasons why I put up a website, and the site that I developed was called QOZmarketplace.com. That's QOZ as in Qualified Opportunity Zones. So the site is QOZmarketplace.com, and on that site, we have a list of real estate funds, or opportunity zone funds that are accepting money from investors. We have every single opportunity zone listed on that site across the country on a state-by-state basis. So it doesn't even matter what state you live in. There's an opportunity zone in that state for you if you're interested in that kind of thing. And we list the census tract data. We list all the funds out there. And now what we've been doing, what we're working on right now, is listing specific real estate projects that are in opportunity zones that are available for developers to purchase. So that's really a great resource for everybody.
Well, this is not only sanctioned by the government, Ron, from what I understand. It's also sanctioned from some very big players in the real estate world across the country, as far as like big investment groups like REITs, et cetera, that are really jumping on the bandwagon here.
They're jumping on it for three reasons. One is because it's such a great opportunity for capital gains investors, so that it works out for those guys for sure. Secondly, it works out for these developers. Real estate developers are looking for any way to raise money, of course, and they could do that through the fund in a very unique manner. So that's why the developers win out. So you've got the investors winning out, you got the developers winning out, and then finally the communities themselves are being revitalized. So the people who actually live in each community is going to see an increase in their lifestyle. So it works for them as well. And people who are looking to do a unique investment, you get the benefit of knowing in the back of your heart that you're actually doing something good for the society as well.
Well, is there a minimum amount of investment, or is there a maximum amount, or is there anything that is controlled as to what you can invest or what taxes you can defer, et cetera?
There is no minimum or no maximum. The specific fund may set that requirement, but if you owe $5,000, let's say, in taxes, or if you owe $500,000, it doesn't matter. You can take as little or as much of that as you want and invest it into one of these funds. And the funds, I don't think they cap them either. So they're looking for as much money as they can, because that means more and more real estate projects that they can develop. And by the way, I mentioned before about the 1031. It's different from the 1031 because the 1031 has to be like-kind property. With the qualified opportunity zones, it doesn't have to be real estate that you made your gain on. So, for example, if you sold stocks, or if you sold a piece of art, or if you sold your business, or whatever you sold that triggered capital gains taxes, you can do that, unlike a 1031, which requires commercial real estate, or at least like-kind property.
What about getting money out? Is there any charge to take your money out?
Well, that's the tricky part about it right now. To get your money out of the funds right now, you may lose some of the advantages of the tax deferral that makes it worthwhile to begin with. Generally, people who are investing into these funds are looking for at least a 5-year investment into this thing. As you keep it longer than 5 years, or longer than 7, or even 10, that's when you really start to see some significant benefits, because you're not paying taxes on any of the appreciation of the fund.
Are there options as to how long you would like to leave the money in?
Some funds will give you that option as well, but in general, people have to understand that they're investing really for the long term. This isn't really kind of a short-term investment by any means. But there is, that brings up a good point, Frank. I'll tell you, another thing that's really interesting about these opportunity zone funds is that the funds are self-certified, which means basically anybody can start their own fund if they wanted to. They just have to abide by all the rules that are in place right now, which are not that much. There's not a whole lot of actual rules on it. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West in that it's a totally new program. And as the time goes by, we're going to see the Treasury, and we're going to see the IRS get a little bit more involved, I think, in regulatory items on this right now. Because right now, like I said, I mean, if you're listening to this right now, you want to start a fund, it's just a one-page document to the IRS.
So, in other words, what I'm getting from what you said just now is that you don't need any special credentials to participate.
That's exactly why we need some kind of an authority, opportunity zones authority that maybe could, even certify these funds, or just give a stamp of approval, like whoever's involved in this fund is a real person. That kind of thing is going to be what you're going to be seeing with this very, very soon. But in general, this is if you're okay at capital gains taxes, this is your vehicle, and we're seeing it in Las Vegas, we're seeing it in Henderson. I'm seeing a lot of commercial real estate brokers here, Frank, advertising their properties now as opportunity zone eligible.
Well, there are several hundreds. Aren't there several thousand communities around the country that are entitled to do this with?
There are approximately 8,700 and more, 8,780, I think, that are census tracts that have been designated as opportunity zones across the country. This is a nationwide program. Doesn't matter what state you're in, you have access to an opportunity zone if you want to invest into it.
Well, how can anybody get in touch with you, Ron?
Well, the best way to do it, I guess, would be right here on the podcast. You could just go to VegasRealEstateShow.com. We're really taking the lead on this program in particular. Or if not, if you want to get a little bit more specific, you can go to the QOZmarketplace.com, and there's a contact us button there. You can get a hold of us right there. And there's also a news page on that site too, so you could check out the latest news. We scour the internet for links to applicable articles, and we put them up on there. We'll embed some of the podcasts that are related on that page. Basically, anything you need to know about opportunity zones, you're going to find at the QOZ Marketplace. The marketplace is the place to be for anybody involved in this, whether you're an investor, whether you're a fund manager, a real estate developer, broker, agent, developer, whatever.
Well, it sounds like somebody that's getting ready to liquidate should definitely look into this program. It sounds like it could save them a lot of time, a lot of money, and give them big opportunities for the future.
They come out to Vegas, and their life is a lot better then, right? Everybody loves the Vegas lifestyle. Invest in opportunity zones, move out to Vegas, buy a new home, enjoy the sports scene here in town.
Right, and I could show them a ton of ways how to dispose of any residual money.
Spoken like a true Vegas entrepreneur. I love it. That's great. So, Frank, do you have anything closing remarks on this at all? Anything you want to say?
Well, no, I'm glad that I'm listening to you and I'm participating. I know a little bit about it, but I've learned. Every time I hear you speak about this, I learn something different, something new, something more important, something more valuable. So I really appreciate that, and I think that we've covered just about everything, and it's all and the ball's in your court.
All right. So, folks out there, if you're listening to the podcast, go to VegasRealEstateShow.com. Go to the website. Subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any episodes. And we'll keep coming at you with more and more informative episodes like we did today. We hope to see you out in Vegas. Contact us immediately. Get out here and enjoy the Vegas lifestyle. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Vegas, baby!